Good evening. It's another historic night here in the Elite Hockey Experience. I'm the Commissioner, Kevin Lacey, and welcome once again. This is the 2022 EHE Draft Lottery. Thank you so much for patiently waiting here. We're almost 2 full rounds through the playoffs, and we're now getting things rolling with the draft lottery. The entry draft will be taking place starting on Sunday, August 28th, as discussed in the forum over the last few weeks. But of course, for those of you who have been waiting after the double overtime victory by the Buffalo Sabres tonight over the Boston Bruins, Jason Zucker with the goal. Goals seem to be hard to come by for that guy, but not in the EHE playoffs. He gets his third of the season halfway through double OT. And now, lo and behold, it is Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. As you can see on the screen, hopefully, if you couldn't see that, I've got my phone right here. And hey Siri, what's today's date?
It's Wednesday, the 20th of July, 2022.
Thank you very much. I need to put the volume up a little bit on Siri there. But anyway, it is the draft lottery, and there have been a few changes this year. Most notably, I am not in the draft lottery this season. I think that's the biggest change most of all. One thing that has not changed this year is that the Montreal Canadiens have the best lottery odds for winning the first overall pick tonight. But as we know from the past, that is not a foregone conclusion. In the previous years, we have held 3 draws to determine the first 3 selections in the draft, none of which have been won by the Montreal Canadiens in the last 2 years. Not the first one, not the second one, and not even the third one. So, can Montreal do it again? Can they fall and fail to get a pick? We will find out. That would be really disheartening for the folks in Montreal at the Bell Center, where the draft will be held this season. You can view that live on Discord, or I'm sure that a certain Penguins GM may have other means of alternative feeds to watch the draft lottery, or the draft, so to speak. But I digress. I am wearing my Montreal Canadiens shirt. No, I am not a fan. I just think that this is very appropriate for tonight. So let's get at it here. As I mentioned, there are a bunch of changes, and this is going to be a little bit of a different spiel than normal, and I'm going to try and clear it up because Gary Bettman's video this year was awful. They're always awful. We know, yes, you can boo. Yes, boo. Yeah, we understand. But someone needs to write him a better script because these rule changes were very hard to follow. So I will try my best here. As I showed a moment ago, it is 8:33 p.m. local time. Right now, the Arizona Coyotes have taken a 3-2 lead over the Nashville Predators, just giving you an update on that. That's about halfway through the second period. Nashville needs to win tonight in order to stay alive in the playoffs, as Buffalo did against the Boston Bruins. This evening, we will conduct 2 draws using a weighted lottery system to determine the order of selection for the first 16 picks in the first round of the 2022 EHE Entry Draft. Participants are all the teams that did not qualify for the 2022 EHE Stanley Cup playoffs, or the teams that have acquired the first round drafting position of those non-playoff teams. The EHE commissioner, me, approved the changes to the draft lottery format last summer, reflective of those made to the real NHL format. Among the changes taking effect this year, there will be a limit on the total number of selections a team participating in the draft lottery can move up in the event it wins one of the lottery draws. Thus, only the top 11 draft lottery seeds will be eligible to receive the first overall selection in the 2022 EHE Entry Draft. and the top 12, only the top 12, as reseeded after the first draw, will be eligible to receive the second overall selection. I've got the odds up on the screen. Now, I don't have the super nice graphic that I did last year. I reverted back to the graphic from 2 years ago, as you can see, for a couple of reasons. One, it was much easier to do the graphic from 2 years ago because they used we in the EHE used the same logo as 2 years ago. We're recycling draft logos these days, or draft lottery logos these days, since it was supposed to be held in Montreal 2 years ago, and it was held, or is being held this year. Let's just use the same logo, switch out 20 for 22, and make things easier. The other reason is because there were a bunch of trades to announce with the first round draft picks this year, and I didn't feel like writing it all out on the screen for you. So if you really need to look up that, you can go on the EHE website in the trade transactions. But I will be going over the teams who have moved picks here in a little bit. Let's see here. So I've lost my place. Oh, yeah. So the remaining lottery teams that do not win a draw or who are not locked into a position as a result of a draw will be assigned first round draft positions based on inverse order of the regular season point total in 2021-22 of the clubs these picks originally belonged to. Ready? Drum roll, please. Drum roll for a drum roll. It's like an announcement for an announcement. That's an inside joke there. All right. This random number generator will select 2 numbers ranging from 1 through 1,000. All numbers were assigned to each team at random by random.org. And the same number assignments will be used between each of the 2 draws. The odds for the first draw and the percentage of numbers assigned to each team are listed once again on your screen at this moment. A list of the random number lookup chart was posted at the end of the regular season in the forum on EliteHockeySim.com. That was several weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago at the very least. I think it was a few weeks ago. I'm going to run a test right now. This number is not official.
582.
582. That is not a drop, but I'll show you again.
516.
516. And it's stalling.
406.
406. So you can see that it is
929.
randomly choosing numbers between 1 and 1,000. All right, I've now cleared the results. Therefore, from this point, if it is assigned, this is where it gets complicated. If it is assigned to one of the top 11 seeds, the club assigned to the first number drawn will secure the right to the first overall selection in the 2022 EHE Entry Draft. If the winning club in the first draw is not among the top 11 seeds, its first round draft position will move up 10 slots, and the first overall selection in the 2022 EHE Entry Draft will go to the Montreal Canadiens. In both of these scenarios, the draft position obtained by the first draw will become locked in and will not be subject to change as a result of the second draw. The winning number and all numbers assigned to the winning club in the first draw will be designated as redraw numbers for the second draw. All numbers assigned to the other 15 clubs, including the Montreal Canadiens if they do not win the first draw, will remain eligible for selection in the second draw. In the event that the Canadiens secure the first overall draft position as a result of the winning club of the first draw not being among the top 11 seeds, and then the Canadiens win the second draw, the final draft order for the first round will be based on the reseeded draft order established after the first draw. Otherwise, the winner of the second draw will move up no more than 10 slots to the highest draft position that has not already been determined and locked in. Okay, believe it or not, Gary Bettman continues on and on and on, and it is even more... Ugh. So, I'm going to give an example to make things a lot more simple. If the Devils win the first draw, the New Jersey Devils, as the 12th seed, they cannot move up more than 10 slots. So moving up 10 spots from 12th, that means they will win the second overall pick, and that pick is locked in. By virtue of the Devils' win, Montreal basically automatically wins the first overall pick because the Devils could not overtake the Canadiens' spot. Thus, with the first 2 picks locked in, the second draw will actually be for the third overall pick. If the Canadiens, whose numbers, once again, are still eligible in that second draw, end up winning the second draw, it means there are no further changes made to the draft order. Basically, they play the spoiler for any other teams trying to move up in the second draw. So I hope that made things a little bit clearer, because I know it was very wordy, much wordier than usual. Please be reminded, of course, that the draft lottery determines the order of selection for the first round only. For all subsequent rounds, the order reverts to the original order established by inverse order of regular season standings and Stanley Cup playoff results. As I mentioned, I need a drink of water. As I mentioned, there are 5 transactions that everyone should be aware of. The Columbus Blue Jackets hold the rights to the Colorado Avalanche first round pick. That has the second highest odds in this evening's proceedings. In addition, they own their own first round pick in the 2022 EHE Entry Draft. The St. Louis Blues hold the rights to the Winnipeg Jets first round pick in addition to their own first round pick in 2022. The Boston Bruins hold the rights to the Chicago Blackhawks first round pick in 2022, as well as the Vancouver Canucks first round pick in the 2022 EHE Entry Draft. And then the San Jose Sharks hold the rights to the New York Islanders first round pick in the 2022 EHE Entry Draft. Now, based on what I saw on Discord, where this is airing live right now, I know we have a couple people here, so thank you for tuning in. Are there any questions? And no, Kirkland, you cannot ask any questions because you're talking about Canadian football in the middle of the draft lottery, and we ain't got time for that, as I usually say. So let's move along here. I can clear the clock off of my screen. And let's find out who will be the winner of the first overall selection.
9.
9? Just 9? Okay. Well, that makes it easy. Okay, and we've got a winner. And let's get the second overall selection here. Or the second drawing, I should say.
877.
877. So let's move all the way down to the end of our lookup chart. All right, and we have 2 winners. Okay, so...
Oh, shit.
Let's begin here. Let's just slide this over here. All right. And... all right, let's begin. So, the 16th overall pick in this year's draft belongs to the San Jose Sharks. San Jose, who had 0.5% chance of winning. So, yeah, that not a very good chance. But wait a minute. There was another team who had 0.5% chance with this particular pick. And it was not the San Jose Sharks. I feel like it's deja vu all over again, where I cannot stress enough the insanity of this. San Jose was the 15th seed. They slot in at 16. That means that for the first time, and probably the only time, the team with 0.5% chance of winning the lottery. They may not have won necessarily the first lottery, but they have guaranteed themselves a chance to move up 10 spots. Because, again, the new rule is that you can't move up more than 10 spots. So the team who should be right here does not get the first overall pick or the second overall pick, but they move up 10 spots from 16 to 6. And that is the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets, the same team who 3 out of the last 4 years, have finished 9th in the Lemieux Conference, just barely missing out on the playoffs. Last year, they lost because of a tiebreaker. This year, they were 2 points out of a playoff spot. The Columbus Blue Jackets have defied the odds. 5 out of 1,000 numbers. That's all they had for this particular pick. And they hit. So, I guess on the bright side, that means the Montreal Canadiens can't fall worse than second, right? Because Columbus couldn't overtake them, at least with this particular pick. But could you imagine if Columbus wins both lotteries tonight? Like, 5 out of 1,000, and the Columbus Blue Jackets move up from 16th to 6. So it does actually make this these next little bit, unless we get another hit, and then it's just kind of like, let's just zoom right to the finish. We've already got one off the board on the very first number that has been unveiled. So now only one of the remaining 15 teams can win a lottery spot. So at 15, are we going to see it? It's the Seattle Kraken. Okay, so Seattle manages to somehow fall. And actually, that's par for the course, because the Seattle Kraken finished the season with a 9-game winning streak. And because of that, those 18 points they got, that was the difference between having an 11.5% chance of winning and the 1.5% chance of winning that they ended up with. So they, by winning those 9 in a row to finish the season, they dropped 10%. In theory, they lost all 9 of them. They dropped 10%. And now they fall another spot. The Seattle Kraken still had a better season than their real life counterpart. The Kraken pick 15. Now moving to 14th overall. And this selection will go to the Washington Capitals. So the Washington Capitals, who made the playoffs every year in EHE the first 6 years until last year, and then now this year they missed the playoffs again. Travis, you will be drafting 14th overall with your first round pick, should you hold it. Now, moving on to unlucky number 13, or maybe it's lucky. Maybe this is, Toronto with their 1.8% odds won last year. We already know Columbus moved up 10 spots by winning one of the lottery picks. Can this happen here, or will we see, who would it be? New Jersey. Okay, so 13 is New Jersey, the New Jersey Devils. Well, we can't fault Ryan for not trying, or fault him for trying, or fault him for not trying. Whatever I'm trying to say here. The New Jersey Devils are stuck in the glut that is the Metropolitan Division. They really tried to make the playoffs this year. I think every one of the teams in the division tried to make the playoffs this year. And the New Jersey Devils have now missed the playoffs in 6 consecutive seasons. Now, Ryan's only been at the helm for 2. But 6 consecutive seasons, no lottery draw wins. So it's a bit tough. Now there is some hope for the New Jersey Devils because their farm club, the Utica Comets, are thriving right now in the EHE Calder Cup playoffs. Utica swept the top seed Belleville Senators in the second round, so they are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that could see a few of those players graduate next year to the Devils, and maybe you got a playoff team there. Now moving on, along with that 13th overall pick there. Now moving on to the 12th overall pick. This year, the 12th overall pick will be the Boston Bruins. So this is the pick. This particular instance is Vancouver's pick. Now, Vancouver's missed the playoffs 5 straight years and don't have this first round pick this year. I don't think I gave myself notes for how that pick was acquired, but Boston, they lost tonight in double overtime to the Sabres, but they're still leading their series, and they have 2 first-round picks. They still have another shot at winning the lottery later on. It won't be with Vancouver's pick because Boston will be drafting 12th with that one, falling 1 spot. Now, moving on to number 11. The 11th overall pick is going to be the Ottawa Senators. So the Ottawa Senators, a team that won the Lemieux Conference in the regular season last year and fell to being a lottery pick this year. Now I can't speak too loudly. I mean, my team went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years ago, and I was a lottery team last year, so it happens. But Ottawa, they ride that roller coaster often, and we'll see which direction Cole wants to take his team. But they will be drafting 11th overall. They were a team who got a little bit hot there towards the end of the year and lost some draft position there. There were some interesting ladders, I guess, with the non-playoff teams this year, because you had Colorado and Montreal, who definitely were the 2 lowest teams in the standings this season. But then the next 8 teams, were only separated by 6 points. So there was a lot of shuffling, and we didn't find out until the last day of the season just how the lottery order was going to go. And then on top of that, the remaining teams after that all were separated each by 1 point up the rung each time. So Columbus just had that 1 point in the right spot. I feel good for Andrew there, who's had some hard luck in years with missing the playoffs, as I mentioned. But the 10th overall pick now will belong to the St. Louis Blues. So this is another acquired pick. The St. Louis Blues hold another pick, their own pick, that they still have an opportunity to win with. This one is the Winnipeg Jets pick. So that one's off the board. That had a 5% chance. The Blues acquired this pick when they traded Alex Nedeljkovic to Winnipeg last offseason, I believe it was. And it was a couple of picks involved, including this one. St. Louis will be drafting 10th overall with Winnipeg's pick. Moving over to the single digits now, number 9. Number 9, Gordie Howe. Will you be able to draft a Gordie Howe at 9? Who knows? You never know. That pick will go to the New York Rangers. A very interesting case with the New York Rangers this year. They were second among non-playoff teams in regulation wins. They had 31 regulation wins. The only team that had more was, I don't even know who. I know the number. It was 37. I feel like it was the Islanders had 37. But anyway, the Rangers had the second most playoff regulation wins among non-playoff teams. And yet, not only with that taken into account, they still managed to be middle seed here in this draft lottery today. So Martin's had a real tough time this season. He made a lot of trades like he usually does. Um, couldn't right the ship, and again, the Metropolitan is a hell of a division. So I mean, he could be first next season the way things go in our division. So, but right now he's got the 9th overall pick. He held on to his own pick for now, and that's what it's going to be. Now, over to number 8, the good old Snowman pick. Number 8 will go to the Anaheim Ducks. So the Anaheim Ducks, another team who has seen a lot of the lottery. In fact, the Ducks picks have won the lottery twice. Now, the Ducks did not hold one of those picks. They had traded it way back when. I think it was back in 2016. They had traded their pick for Sam Reinhart. And then 3 years ago, they had their first overall pick and then traded it away. That was the Jack Hughes draft. So the Ducks here at 8th overall. Marco, obviously the Ducks have not had a whole lot of success in EHE, but a number of GMs have come and gone. Marco has been one of the most stable, probably their most stable GM there, and hopefully he will be able to right the ship there. Tucson's still doing very well, poised to win their Calder Cup playoff series. I always say, you know, if you're not making the NHL playoffs, you want to make the AHL playoffs, because that's how you steer towards success there, in my opinion. So the Ducks now at 8th. Now from the Snowman pick to the Hangman pick. This is pick number 7, and it belongs to the Boston Bruins. So this is the other acquired pick from the Boston Bruins, by the Boston Bruins. They acquired it last year from the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, I'm sure Adam Dugan-Smith would really like to have this pick, especially when you consider last year's Blackhawks GM decided it was in their best interest to draft Brady Lyle with their first round pick. Now they don't even have a first round pick, or at least not a lottery pick. We'll see what Adam has to do. Tough sledding there in Chicago versus the opposite. Great things happening in Boston. Again, two first round picks here, and still doing well in the playoffs. Chicago's going to have a rough go here, I think, for another year before Adam can really grab the reins and get this steered in the right way. So hang in there, Adam. And yeah, so Boston is at 7. Now let's move on to the 6th overall pick. And in this year's 6th overall, well, actually, we already know what the 6th overall pick is. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't know why I'm being dramatic. We know that. They moved up 10 spots from 16 to 6. That pick was locked in. So, wow. So, no one moved up between that 6 to 16 range besides them. Again, I can't believe it, guys. I don't have the words to explain this. You changed the lottery format, and it immediately just, I mean, imagine if it was last year's lottery format, if Columbus ended up winning the first draw, because we don't know which draw they won yet. If Columbus ended up winning the first draw last year, that would go from 16 to 1. I mean, we already saw Toronto 14 to 1, 16 to 1. Oh my. That would be such a Montreal thing to not get first overall for 3 years in a row. We'll see what happens. Now at number 5, down to the top 5, and this pick belongs to the St. Louis Blues. So this is the other St. Louis pick. This is their own pick, and they will draft 5th. Again, they had the 3rd best total odds of winning, but they, at 13.5%, did not hit either draw tonight. But they still will be drafting 5th and 10th, I believe. So, things in good order for Sean. Sean's a very dedicated GM. But unfortunately, St. Louis, who did win the draft lottery 2 years ago, has now missed the playoffs in 5 straight years. So, it's not for a lack of trying, but St. Louis, with more lottery picks, 2 of them now here in the top 10. And hopefully this is what the Blues need to finally get into the playoffs in the Gretzky Conference. Now to pick number 4. Now, this can't be Montreal like it has been the last 2 years. So there's at least that. But who will the 4th overall pick be? It will be the Minnesota Wild. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous about what's going to happen with the Minnesota Wild at the draft, given what happened a couple of years ago at the draft. But Minnesota has the 4th overall selection, and it's always interesting. We'll leave it at that. Now into the top 3. Now, Montreal is not in danger here of being 3rd because Columbus could not move up beyond 6th with their own pick. The 3rd overall selection in this year's draft belongs to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, Tampa Bay, who made the playoffs each of the last 3 years, but it was kind of an all or nothing year last year and didn't work out for them, so they had to kind of go back into the reshuffle mode here. 3rd overall pick is a heck of a way to reshuffle. But what this does mean, folks, is that the top 2 teams, or at least the teams with the top 2 odds, both actually made it to this point. So the lottery rules, I guess, did come into effect in the changes did come into effect in this regard. The 2nd overall pick in this year's draft belongs to the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is the Colorado Avalanche, formerly the Colorado Avalanche pick. The Blue Jackets draft 2nd, which the odds were good that was going to happen, and 6th, which means that the number 1 overall pick in the 2022 EHE Entry Draft, le premier choix de repêchage, belongs to les habitants de Montréal, the Montreal Canadiens. With I love this shirt, and Greg Forget, you finally win the draft lottery. The Canadiens hold the 1st overall pick in this year's draft. So congratulations. Montreal this year had 23 regulation wins, which is the most they've had since 2017. And they still had the worst overall record in the EHE. It's been a real long struggle. Again, Greg was left with next to nothing, kind of like how Adam was this year with Chicago. Montreal was in ruins after their previous GM scorched earth and then didn't replenish anything, didn't really hold any picks. So, Greg, hopefully this is the turnaround you've been waiting for, pining for. Now the question is, everyone, will it be the de facto number 1 ranked prospect in Shane Wright? We've heard about it since 2019. Shane Wright in 2022. Will it be Shane Wright? Or will Montreal want to go a little, not necessarily off the board, but just a little bit of a different angle and go with Uri Slavkovsky? This is going to be interesting to watch. And I'm sure the offers are going to come into Montreal for the 1st overall pick here. Heck, Columbus at 2nd and 6th could get some serious offers too. I'm really curious to see how this goes. But the Montreal Canadiens, it is your choice whether you want to pick Shane Wright, Uri Slavkovsky, Logan Cooley, Devin Cooley. No, Devin Cooley's the goalie. Logan Cooley. Right? Yes. Anyway, the draft is August 28th. That's a Sunday. So a little bit different than previous years, but that's what has been decided on based on general consensus. That first weekend that we chose is not working out for like anyone. So August 28th is the current placement there. It could get pushed out a couple of weeks, but right now I don't expect that, and so I'm firmly saying August 28th. We'll find out in Montreal who will become the latest Montreal Canadien. Now, I'm going to go to the Discord here real quick, and I'm really hoping that the video is still recording, but if anyone would like to speak up in the voice channel, what do you think about either Montreal winning the first overall pick or Columbus winning the second overall pick? I mean, technically, nothing changed, but it kind of did.
I think this is really good for Columbus.
It sure is, Ian. Ian Gurtowski of the Pittsburgh Penguins on the phone via satellite, everyone.
I mean, number 1 overall is awesome. Don't get me wrong. But to have number 2 and number beyond that, having a pretty well-built roster as it is. You talked about the Metropolitan Division being very, very tight, very competitive. I think, whatever Andrew decides to do with these 2 picks, I think it's going to help his team. And, we'll see. Does he aggressively build up the roster with these picks, or does he take the slow, long route and draft and develop? And it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it sure is. And I mean, what this does, I mean, it's almost like years in the making in a way, because I still remember when the Columbus Blue Jackets lost Jack Roslovic and Luke Cunnin for absolutely nothing because Andrew forgot to tender them qualifying offers when they were first activated to the EHE. So now really reaps the spoils here. Again, a team that has been barely on the outside looking in 3 of the last 4 years, and that's a lot of heartbreak in Columbus. And now to be drafting second and third, as long as he keeps his picks anyway. I'm sure a couple teams are going to be making him some nice offers here. You know what this does, Ian, is it makes our division that much harder.
Yeah, that it does, especially because I know the teams who didn't make it to the dance, Columbus, as you mentioned, New Jersey as well.
Washington.
They're not just taking a step back. They're not saying, oh, we're not a good team, so, oh, well. They want to be in the playoff hunt as much as everybody else wants to be in the division. And so I think it's going to be a repeat next year where we don't know the playoff matchups until the last week of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Rangers too. I mean, the Rangers didn't make
Rangers, the Islanders, the Capitals. I mean, literally, I think all 8 teams in the Metropolitan Division, I think, can make a convincing argument.
Absolutely. So, from Montreal, hey Travis, are you in the chat? Do you have any comments?
I just kind of thought it was kind of funny that Kirkland kind of foreshadowed this a little bit in the chat a little earlier.
About his pick?
Yeah, winning.
Yeah,
but
the funny thing was
his pick, but it's got to bug him a little bit to watch his pick get move up.
Oh, it wasn't his pick though. It was Andrew's pick, the 16th pick. That moved all the way.
Okay.
Again, this is why we have lotteries. Anyone literally has a chance, and I think this is the ultimate proof now, because you can't get worse odds than 0.5%.
Yeah, it's funny. 2 years in a row that low percentage odds moved up.
I know. It's mind-boggling to me, and it's one of those things for me. Like I feel like I'm not as amped up as I was a couple years ago, and it's not even about like I'm disappointed or anything. It's just the pure shock of it. I don't know how this keeps happening, guys.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I actually feel happy for Montreal. They're due.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Greg has been waiting for this moment for years now, and he was dealt a really, really horrible team by the former GM, who burned it down and then didn't try and bring it back up. And I mean, that's a long road. I mentioned Chicago earlier having a long road, but Montreal has had the longest road, the bumpiest path. So it's nice to see the Canadiens finally win a draft lottery. Thank you guys for joining, and because I think I'm going to wrap this up here. But glad to have some other voices here on the panel. And I do want to point out as well that the Nashville Predators are down 3-2 after the second period, and Tuukka Rask has already made 40 saves. And let's hope his hips hold out, because, I mean, that's a lot of work here. And, you know, Tuukka Rask is going to be a hot commodity next season as long as his hips hold up. So, one last bit of business here that I want to do before I sign off. Tim Schull will be departing the EHE at the end of the playoffs here. Right now, Arizona is okay. So obviously, the results have already been done. Although technically, when the draft lottery would air, we don't know the result. But the Arizona Coyotes did defeat the Nashville Predators tonight and have moved on to the Gretzky Cup Finals. So Gretzky Conference Finals. So congratulations. But Tim is going to be leaving after 8 years. So he's trying to go out with the biggest bang you possibly can. And I just want to thank Tim for all of his years of dedicated service here. You know, he's not the most vocal GM, but I thought he's always been respectful, very easy to deal with trade talks, and helpful at the draft, and someone who I've really enjoyed having in the league. I think we've got probably the best crop of GMs that we've had right now here. There's no drama. With it was necessary to get rid of the unnecessary drama, and that's all gone now. And Tim never caused any drama. So we'll be bringing in a new GM here in the off season. Tim is obviously trying to delay that as much as possible, which works out for me because I've been so slammed with work. I haven't been able to do video updates for you guys. But, you know, rest assured that even though I have not been nearly as visible as I would like to be, I know I've spoken with a few people via direct message about how I wish I was a lot more visibly active. It's still spending the 4 hours, 5 hours a night working on the league. Right now I'm working on ratings for next season, trying to get ahead of that, because I am going to be going camping in a couple of weeks just to recharge the batteries. It's been an insane couple of weeks at work. And then I do want to have the board reach out to. We have several people on our waiting list, so I don't foresee there being any issues unless they all just decide to move on. Because the waiting list, you know, sometimes you get disheartened when it's months and months and you don't hear anything. But hey, we've got some GMs who are currently in the league who had to go through that process, you know. So we will be filling the Coyotes role soon, but don't want to be too soon here. We want to give them enough time to prepare for this draft that we held the lottery for tonight. But Tim also has definitely earned the right to stick around as long as he'd like. So once again, congratulations, Tim, on your accomplishments in EHE, and I can't wish you ultimately good luck for winning the Stanley Cup, because I'm still trying to beat Philadelphia here in this series. It was starting off great, and then I decided to shave my playoff beard because of my own playoffs being over. Didn't even think about the EHE playoffs when it came to the playoff beards. So, ever since then, I've lost every game in both leagues. That could be disastrous. So if it's not me, I think I'm going to be rooting for you, Tim. But again, thank you, man. And thank you all. Your dedication's been amazing this season. Again, very little drama. Your activity levels, record setting again. 97% or something like that. We still had a couple of GMs who missed the mark, missed the minimum participation goal, and yet the entire league still set a record at over 97% lineup validity, and plus the Discord channel. You know, there have been a few voices who we haven't heard from in the Discord channel until this year, and it's nice to see that some of you feel that you now are allowed to speak rather than having the same couple of guys just drown everyone out with blah, 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 blah. It's nice to see a lot of variety and voices in the Discord channel now. I wish I could participate more. You guys see I end up replying like 8 messages in a row over the course of a week, that because I like reading your stuff, even though I can't participate all the time. But thanks again for everything here. And good luck at the draft on August 28th, and good luck with the rest of the playoffs for those of us who are still in it. So on behalf of the Elite Hockey Experience, I'm Kevin Lacey, and I wish you all a great summer.